Princess Ruto, the water fighter character. Her light attacks, she sort of dances around, slaps enemies, and then there's sort of a disconnect for this part, which is great for getting past guards lots of times. Now she has a special gauge that will build up as you do her strong attacks, and I'll cover what it results in at the end of this. So her first special attack is that, and it's a little pop from a puddle she jumps into. Her second attack is this, and that's great for smashing single enemies, and it puts her directly into her strong attack stance, which we'll cover momentarily. Her third attack is this jump back and forth wave thing, and then she explodes from the middle. And then there's the big wave attack, and that's pretty much the main reason to use Ruto. She will wreck all sorts of mobs with that. Bosses, commanders, trash, just everything just falls underneath the power of that wave. And it's just great. It is entirely scrub spammable too. Now Ruto's water elemental will put that water debuff dot on a lot of characters, and that's great for helping you take down weak point gauges. That's great for helping you take down health of just everyone. It gets a little annoying when you put it on, say, Aeroflos or Pose, and they start teleporting around or flipping in midair and not doing what you want them to do to hurt them. So there's sometimes a disadvantage to water elementals, but whatever. Her strong attack puts her in the special stance, and a couple of her combos will directly lead you into this. And this is where that water gauge comes in handy. Or comes into play, I should say. So when you do attacks in this, she'll throw out waves, and you can see the water gauge going down. And then when you button mash your strong attack at the end, she does that flip with the wave, big wave coming out. And that helps that just gives you a really good projectile attack. That's usable against pretty much anything you need it used against. And like I said, a couple of her abilities... Oh, I forgot she had that one. That would be her third, I think. Her third or fourth. So like this attack puts you right into it. So you can actually get going and then just start throwing out waves. I don't think the big wave lets you do it right after. So, go in the big wave. The big wave gives you the most to your water gauge as well. So, yeah, you have to actually... There's a slight moment in between when the wave ends and when you can get in the stance. I will note her special attack happens directly around her, and I'd say it's her biggest weakness as a character. It's pretty much a circle around her, maybe out to here from the center of this. It's not a big attack, and it's not that strong of an attack either. But it does work for just collecting things and then blowing them away. And I believe it hits the enemies with the water elemental debuff. So that's me babbling about Ruto, and we'll get into a quest. Alright, we're playing the Ruto. This quest is like to get her third weapon, the Water Dragon Scale. Unfortunately, the audio... I did this with audio over the initial playthrough, doing it live, but I forgot I was using OBS instead of the default capture software that I was using before. So I forgot I had to turn the volume down on the game. So we're going to have to re-record this here. And even right now, I'm looking at the volume settings, trying to remind myself, because I forgot. But I didn't put it low enough even here. So we're going to have to do it post.
OBS records it loud.
Post record to put the audio.
Because I do really love the music.
Put my rambling over the gameplay. So we got Ruto here. You're going to see the wave a lot with her. And it's a ridiculously powerful ability.
That's why I hate Pose.
to the point where it's borderline broken in this game because it's a bit quicker to get to than Ganondorf's
super intense
big sweeper move.
All of the bosses are
and
right here.
It pushes everything around with you, and it is virtually uninterruptible when you get it started. So as you can see, I'm using it here on bosses
all at once.
because this quest is absolute insanity.
It's not difficult.
Not only do you have,
More just
I mean,
really
it's
tricky.
well, let me start again. This quest is insanity at the start, and it kind of calms down
because you're just surrounded
because
by
all of the bosses come right down that center pipe, and you got to fight them in the giant area
just
here.
Try to special as many times as possible. Hopefully possible.
And it's a brawl. It's a melee. It is absolute craziness. And I believe there are cuckoos here as well. And
I think the last time
I think you just ignore them. At least I just ignore them.
I
Let them have their little feud or whatever they're doing.
believe I had the time right.
But
and
as you can
the
see,
kill
I am
count
just
right.
trying
Because of the fight, I just-
to hit the stuff. Trying to hit as many of the commanders that are out here as I can. And I'm just waiting for positions mostly to get off weak point smashes that will hopefully pull lots of things together to hurt these guys. And yeah, it's crazy. It's absolute craziness at the beginning here. But Ruto, you can see that she has her roll there, that little is absolutely amazing in my opinion. Not only does it get you far, it's
Still
a
waiting
really
for the
fast
message
roll,
to
and because
say,
of the
like,
way her body shape
Hyrule
is,
hits the big icy
the your hitbox is much different. So you can actually use it to go through things a bit easier, I guess you could say. But yeah, there are five commanders right there, and it's like
focus spear right now too.
you just gotta try and work your way through them. And my Ruto's 43 right here, which isn't terrible. And I think it's definitely a 40+ quest. And I've been trying to get a lot of different weapons for all the characters, because obviously you need all the weapons unlocked for the non-DLC characters so you can get to those purple abilities on the weapons, and I still haven't done it. And this is actually days after this quest, but yeah, some of those quests are actually stupid hard, and some of them are stupid hard for getting just the second level weapons for a group.
Ruto's big wave attack
At least I find them super hard. Usually it's the characters I don't like to play that make them stupid hard, or characters I just don't like.
it deals so much damage to just big groups of enemies that
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try to keep talking because there's no other audio here. Oh, and I am my choices for the characters are based on if I have their Master Quest costume unlocked. So here's Ruto's is like this really cool, like 1950s diver or swimmer. Wait, 1950s diver suit, or I guess swimsuit, not swimmer suit. Yeah, and it's a really cool costume idea for her that they went with it. Because most of the characters just get a flat color swap, but they put a little extra on Ruto, and it's really neat. It's sort of like I think Ganondorf got a really good one too, with like that bronze armor. And Darunia is super creepy. He's next. He'll be the next video is Darunia. It's a seat of my pants getting a second weapon one. But yeah, another big wave coming out. Oh, and I get the... I should also point out, the big wave,
there's one.
you will get, if you manage to time it right in connection with weak point gauges, you'll get a pretty instant activation of the weak point gauge on it. And
So I do want to make sure
it's really handy. And Ruto's, all of her abilities kind of have that property where if you time it just right, they're big enough that they'll sweep the bosses and all of their ads. Well, I should say mobs, because they don't really add. But yeah, you'll get like all the mobs
I'm in
with
debate over how
the
to handle these
commanders
guys, too. Part of me wants to just hook shot them out of the air.
if you time it just right, and it'll instantly lead to Ruto
another
doing
part of me
that.
just wants to wait for them to do that. So I can weak point
And
them.
I've done it with her second, which is like that race forward move, the third, which is the jump back and forth out of pools move, and the big wave. And yeah, it's a really solid. Or I should say, are those the third and
that's
fourth?
the
I guess
start
you
of
would
the
say,
fight.
with the way the game
Hopefully-
lists those things.
I'll be able to handle the rest of it. Because now it's mostly just going to be...
And it's a
and
it's a pretty fun way to get free weak point smashes while you're just stripping all of the little guys out of a battle. Now Ruto's back and forth hits there. It's really easy to time what you want to do with her because she sort of has like the dancing going on, and the dancing
rush straight to
there's
the
sort of a
boss
beat
right now.
in between each step, and it actually makes her a really easy character to pick up because the steps are very easy to count. And by the time you do your last one, which should be I'm just doing a normal combo. By the time you get to your last
Zora right now,
step,
so-
it's very easy to see. It's just very easy to do because she also alternates her hands,
That might be the problem.
and
Hopefully, I
yeah,
have
it just
enough
makes getting the wave
of a troop
very
base.
easy to do. And
Troops at my base that I could.
yeah, and that was the water right there, the water
I'll be able
dot
to leave with
clicking over the weak point gauge.
let
She
like, these,
she is great for weak point smashes
survive,
on normal
so I can-
commanders because of that.
rush the bosses.
And she's just great for weak point smashes in general. So yeah, and it's very obvious when you actually screw things up too, because you'll end up doing that dive. And it's more pose. There are just a ton of pose in this stage too, and they're not hard. They're just pose are just annoying. Because that's one of the weaknesses of the water elemental dot is if it's an enemy that
Also,
tends
hoping
to
I can get
move when
there
you try to hit
before
it,
the cuckoos.
they'll end up
die
moving
already.
and it's kind of annoying.
Damn
It's
it.
pose. It's actually pose and arrow flips that end up doing that a
I'm
lot.
also hoping the cuckoos don't mess
Now
up.
here I was actually trying to go for supering on their weak point gauges, but I missed by about a second or half second. Probably not even that. And my favorite power up for clearing out a room. I love big bombs, and I
We're
cannot
gonna-
lie.
We're gonna now rush the boss. I
The
don't need
the
any
bomb
berries
upgrade is
or
awesome.
Special things to get to him.
It's I
think
have
it's Zant,
Link's
so I do really want to
magical sword. I have one with
take him down
the
as
big
quick
bomb.
as possible.
Where I have one with what's it called? Bombs Plus.
Because
So he
Zant's
randomly gets the big bombs in addition to all the normal bomb upgrade drops.
he doesn't weak point that often.
Now Zant is probably my least favorite of all of the commanders to fight because he has no weak point smashes. So you pretty much have to rely on your other your like regular abilities, and you can't cheat shot him a lot. And I believe I screwed this up here. And yep, I whiffed it. So Zant, the only time I've seen the weak point gauge pop up on him is when he does that totem pole move, and I think you have to attack the totem pole to get him to fall over with it,
Does he have a full magic?
and that'll activate a weak point gauge. But I don't think he has any others, as far as I know, unless there's a special way to smack him around to get them to show up. I've waited and watched him, and I've never really seen a lot of weak point gauges. Now I do get that one, so we do get the one here, which is super helpful against him. And yeah, I'm just spamming specials too, because that's what you gotta do just sometimes in this game, is spam your specials. I'm so certain seeing Ruto wink for the 20th time is riveting. Yeah, but I smash him into the wall with the 3, I guess you would call it. Because there's no... Yeah, I guess you would call it 3. And I'm going to try to use the turret here, and I do get him a couple times with it. It's a pretty strong ability, and it's worth throwing into skill rotations. Now I'm big waving his ads here because we get super gauge like crazy off of that. I'm also trying to mix up the hits against him, just to try and get different types and different strengths of hits on him, and to try and get strong attacks on him as much as I can, but I'm also trying to do it to just throw variation in the fight and not have this be everything.
I noticed this when I was watching some other videos I recorded where I just use like the same 3 moves over and over and over again. Well, yeah,
but the turret, I definitely like Ruto's turret.
This is, you know,
when you've knocked enemies away and you want to hit them a couple more times, it's a great way to do follow-ups. I've tried to work it in, like in,
you know, Dynasty Warriors.
Like when the enemy, like I knock him down near me and I try to do it, but it like just flow a combo into it and try and do it, but a lot of times it doesn't work. So I think if you do the wave and knock like say Zant away, you will definitely get a lot of advantage from the turret because you'll be able to follow him when he's landed, and because it's a single hit, there's a good chance he won't be blocking. Yeah, I just smack an ad there because I accidentally went into it. If you accidentally go into it, it's not as good because it's kind of a surprise that you're in it. You may not be aimed the proper way. But yeah, it's definitely a good bit of variation and a good follow-up for knockaways, I guess you would call them. Yeah, I don't know if that move has a weak point gauge on it, or there's one where he starts like laughing after he does the move, but it doesn't activate anything.
Ah, that's the A rank.
And here's our A rank. Pretty. It was a difficult quest, quite honestly. I think this is like my 3rd attempt. But it was one of those quests where I did it a couple times, then let it sit for a couple days, and I did it again, and it was much, much easier. I had to adjust my chair there. It's much, much easier after letting it sit a couple days. It's kind of weird.
Yeah, that was one of those quests that...
But that is victory.
It gave me problems my first time or so through it.
And we're going to watch Ruto's little cinema here. With her
now it's
elegant diving outfit.
Easier. That's happened quite a few
I like
times.
Ruto's design in this game. They did a cool job with her. So I hope everyone enjoyed this video. Next up is going to be Darunia. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys then.